Hello, and thank you for joining us for the sixth and last presentation on 20 years of SimStart research at the University of Kassel. The topic is when and how to start the leg kick after swim starts and turns. We've not yet published any studies on this topic. However, we're looking for interested colleagues to collaborate on using our equipment to help swimmers find their optimal kick timing, amplitude, and frequency. The aim of the project is to individually determine the timing and characteristics of the leg kick following the glide after the swim start or turn for each individual swimmer. This topic was previously studied by Andrew Little and colleagues in towing experiments published in the year 2000 in the Journal of Sports Sciences. These authors evaluated the net forces generated during tethered gliding and kicking underwater to determine the best horizontal velocity to initiate underwater kicking and the most effective gliding position and kicking technique to use after a turn. Andrew and his colleagues used a load cell to measure net forces at speeds of 1.6, 1.9, 2.2, 2.5, and 3.1 meters per second. At each speed, the swimmers performed a prone streamline glide, a lateral streamline glide, and a prone freestyle kick, a prone dolphin kick, and a lateral dolphin kick. A two-way repeated measures analysis of variance revealed significant differences between the gliding and kicking conditions at the different speeds. The results indicated an optimal range of horizontal velocities between 1.9 and 2.2 meters per second at which to initiate underwater kicking to prevent energy loss due to excessive active drag. No significant differences were found between the prone and lateral streamline glide positions or between the three underwater kicking techniques. In a follow-up study in 2009, Mark Elipo and colleagues examined the distance from the wall at which swimmers would reach the velocity range that was previously found by Andrew Little and colleagues. Mark and his collaborators found that swimmers reached a velocity of between 1.9 and 2.2 meters per second after their center of mass had traveled between 5.63 and 6.01 meters from the starting wall as an estimate for the start of their kicking. Since Andrew and colleagues' values were averages of 16 swimmers, it is not clear whether these values would apply to individual swimmers. Therefore, the goal of our study is to empirically find the individually best timing of the kick and to use a feedback system to allow swimmers to learn and adapt to this individually optimal timing pattern. So here is a general experimental setup for our proposed study. For each swimmer, the experiment begins by analyzing his or her horizontal velocity after several swim starts from the block, once the body is aligned horizontally. The towing experiments are then performed with this average velocity and slightly increased and decreased velocities. These velocities are used for the subsequent 1080 sprint towing tests. For each test, the swimmer starts out in a horizontal prone position with arm outstretched and hands grasping a small ball at the end of a tow rope. At the start of the experiment, the rope, which is connected to a 1080 sprint device, accelerates the subject to an individually selected glide velocity, which is reached in the dark blue area of this image. At this point, the subject releases the tow rope, causing the power supply of the 1080 sprint to drop. This event is registered by a sensor that sends an electronic release impulse to a main control unit that you see in the lower left corner. After a pre-selected period of time, the control unit sends electronic pulses to the underwater bulbs, which light up at the pre-selected frequency. The subject's task is to glide until the bulbs start flashing and then perform leg kicks at the frequency provided by the lights. Underwater video cameras are used to assess the gliding performance and the leg kicking performance in relation to each subject's initial gliding velocity. By varying the time between the rope release and the start of the leg kicking maneuver, the results of the experiment will show the most favorable individual timing for leg kicking. This slide shows the various pieces of technical equipment used in our towing experiment. In the upper left, you see the power supply for the 1080 Sprint device used to detect the release of the drag rope. In the lower left, you see an aluminum frame with two pulleys to deflect the drag rope at the target water depth. The aluminum frame is mounted on the pool edge above water and attached to the pool wall underwater by suction cups. In total, in addition to the 1080 Sprint unit, the following custom-made components are used: a voltage control unit between the 1080 Sprint and the power supply, a pulley frame to deflect the towing cable horizontally at the target water depth, a control unit to individually adjust the time delay between the release of the cable and the start of a flashing of the light bulbs. In addition, a light-emitting diode attached to the swimmer's waist can be used to analyze the center of mass velocity underwater. In total, we aim to analyze the gliding performance. We also want to optimize the timing of the leg kick, the frequency of the kick, and the amplitude of the kick. The following variables will be assessed during a regular start from the block: horizontal takeoff velocity, glide velocity, 15-meter time, all without towing. Glide performance measured by the decrease in velocity between the release of the rope and the start of the leg kicking movement, and the 15-meter time. The following parameters are experimentally varied: start of the leg kicking amplitude, and leg kicking frequency. Thank you very much for your interest in our Kassel SwimStart research. These studies would not have been possible without the invaluable help and creativity of an outstanding Kassel work group and the technical service departments of the University of Kassel, including Christian Lorey from the electronics department and Dirk Leuchheim from the mechanics department. In particular, my heartfelt thanks go to Sebastian Fischer for his invaluable help in carrying out our research. I would also like to thank Santiago Veiga and Chao Xiu from the Madrid Polytechnical University, Elaine Torr from the Australian Institute of Sports Science in Canberra, Ricardo Fernandes and Susana Soares from the University of Porto, and Ana Conceição from the University of Santarém in Rio Maior. Thank you very much for your interest in our 20 years of Kassel SwimStart research.